Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us again on another episode of Leading on Mondays. My name is Florin, and I'm so delighted to be with you today. And today I'm joined by my teaching partner, Madalina. Welcome, Madalina.
Hey Florin, hello everybody. It's lovely to be here again with you on the next episode of Self Leadership One-on-One series. And today we are going to continue our talk with the topic of priorities as the password to leadership. So, Florin,
Absolutely.
I would like to ask you to talk to us a little bit about what is a priority and why are priorities so important in any leader's journey.
Absolutely. And for me, I think priorities actually are the the key to success. So if you think about leaders, one of the resources that is limited for us and for everyone is time, right? So if we're able to, there are other resources like, finances and other resources that are might also be limited, but we know exactly that time it's limited. We know that we cannot make time, we cannot save time, we cannot manage time, right? The only thing we could do is we could work with our priorities. So for me, I think it's essential to leaders from two perspectives. So number one is that you as a leader, you want to set your priorities right. So you make sure that you spend your time and resources where it matters most and gives you the best return on investment. And secondly, I think for leaders, it's very important for us to be able to set priorities for our teams. So our team actually works on the things that are important to us and to the business. So from those two perspectives, I think priorities are very important, and that's why it's kind of the password to leadership, right? You have to know this password in order for you to become, the best leader that you could be.
It's very interesting that you said from these two perspectives, because last time in a previous episode we were talking about problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And we concluded that in the leader's life, the problems will be there. So they will always have some problems on their plates to solve or to take care of. And it's interesting that we are talking now about priorities because this is the next step. Now you have something on your plate as a leader. Now you have more activities that you need to take care of. And what would you do in the case of having to deal with more problems at the same time, and all of them seems to be urgent, all of them are important? How can you do like a priority for this one? And I also think about that we need to take care of how, and how to prioritize, and how can we become better as leaders in prioritizing things. So we need to start from the beginning, right? We need
Absolutely.
to start from the point where, okay, let's see what are the problems, and sorry, how can we understand what is a problem as a priority, or what is an activity as a priority instead of the other. So what would you say about that, Florian?
Yeah, so I think as leaders, we're actually not asking ourselves if my agenda would be full. The question that we're asking is what will fill my agenda, because we know there will always be, as you said, problems and things that will come on our plate, and many times something seems to be urgent. So if someone comes to me with
Mm-hmm.
something, right, with a problem, and I think one of the challenges leaders have is to many times to take ownership of those problems. So in other words, like if someone on your team comes to you with a challenge and you say, oh, let me I'll there is this example of the leader that works all the hours of the day and then take some work home, and when someone from the team comes and say, well, our computer, my computer doesn't work, and instead of the leader kind of pointing out what a person should be doing, what they do is, oh, I will call the IT support. Okay, no problem. So they take one more problem on their plate, right? So it's so important when we talk about priorities to first of all understand that what we shared last time in problem solving is that problems should be solved at the lowest level in the organization. So one of the things that we are challenged as leaders is that we tend to take ownership of the problems that could be solved at a lower level because we think we serve our team, and actually we say, oh, I'll fix that, I'll do that, I'll speak to those people, I'll call that client. So in that case, what we're doing, we're adding work on our plates, and then of course it becomes much difficult for us to prioritize. So
Mm.
did I answer your question, or I was a little bit, beside the question?
It's more related to what you. I think you made a very good point. Is I actually noticed myself, and I'm pretty sure that many people hearing us today might relate to this. It's hard to say no, especially when you're a leader and you want to increase your influence, because that would be a different topic that we are going to talk about. So, problem solving means actually we helping our team to win. We are helping our team to become better, and we try to take as many things as we can on our plates and leave their plates empty, so at the end of the day we think that we did a great job. But also at the end of the day we have more on our plates, and that my the the problem with this, or the disadvantage with this, so having more on our plates means that we will have more to handle, and that we don't empower people enough so they can actually have the abilities and the skills to solve the problems when they come to them, not for us to just pass the problems to the leader or pass the problems to somebody else. It's like I'm giving fish to somebody, but I'm not teaching them how to fish so they can have the problem solved for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
And um, when we think about, for example, for the aspiring leaders,
Hmm.
how can they deal with this kind of situation when uh, they are at the early stages, they don't have the position of leadership yet, and they want to gain influence and they want to be better at prioritizing.
Hmm.
First of all, in my perspective, and this is what I did, is take the list of your activities first. What are those activities that you need to take care of today? Are some of them activities that they can be easily delegated to somebody else, or are those activities that only you can do? Because
Hmm.
this is an important step. If there are some activities that you can easily pass to somebody else, then empower those people to take care of the activity. And I made a joke in a previous meeting related to priority, and related to some activities that only you can do.
Hmm.
Only you can go to the bathroom. You cannot delegate. This is a joke, just to understand. Only you can go to the bathroom. You cannot delegate going to the bathroom to somebody else. But other things that, yeah, leaving the joke aside, you can think about if there are some other activities that other people can do it easily. And
Absolutely.
also related to the priorities, is important, as you mentioned, for anybody, even on the or for the aspiring leaders, to identify how they spend their daily time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are some activities that I just take and take and take because I'm afraid to say no, or I cannot say no to other people, or or it's okay for me just to say no, and I know how much I can handle during the day, and I don't, like you mentioned, I don't put more things on my plate, and the as days go by, I have more and more on my plate, and at some point, because I cannot say no to other people, is I'm overstressed, I'm
Yeah.
overthinking, I'm nervous, I'm anxious. I have a lot of issues just because I couldn't say no in the past, and now everything is urgent and everybody's waiting for me to deliver things.
Absolutely. And that's what we call to be assertiveness, right? To be able to say
Yes,
no, and
yes,
politely, and also with an
yes,
argument to say, okay, this is actually adding to what I planned for today, and so we need to change priorities here and down prioritize something else, because it's not good, because up until now we've done 5 tasks a day. Now it's
yes,
not going to be, nothing will change for us in such a way that we could do 7, right? We still can do
yeah,
5. So you have to If you have something which becomes more important, then we have to down prioritize something else. And this is a challenge because so many times we add to our to-do list,
Yeah.
and we don't take things off the list unless they're done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is one of the challenges, and you're making some really good points. Uh, if you look at priorities, it starts with understanding where we are and how do we spend our time. There was an exercise that I had leaders to do. It's just it's very simple. So you take a spreadsheet or you take a paper, a piece of paper and a pen, and you kind of write down how you spend your time from the moment you wake up to the moment to go to sleep. If you want to,
Mm-hmm.
feel all your life, or maybe just when you're in the office, right? If you want to apply this to your office, and you just put like 15-minute slots and fill in those slots to exact activity that you have done. And then if you do that for 1 week, you would be amazed about how much time you spend in areas that you were not aware of.
Yeah.
But that empowers you to know, okay, so now if you want things to look differently, then maybe you need to change some things, right? But that,
Yeah.
as you said, looking at how you spend your time, it's actually the first step, because you need to understand where you spend your time and to be aware of, because we think we know. But when I've done that exercise, I found myself that spending time on social media, spending time on checking emails, spending time on reading the news, and I was not aware that I was spending that much time.
Yeah.
So that's why you're making such a good point, to understand how we spend our time in order for us to be able to adjust then, and then adjust our priorities. And I think there's one more aspect there, that is what we call to be competing commitments. In other words, we have different areas of our lives where we have different projects that we work on, where we have different teams that we are responsible for, and sometimes they compete with each other in a way that they might need our attention at the same time, or they might need our resources at the same time. And so if we're not able to prioritize those, then that will create pressure and stress, right? And so we're
Mm-hmm.
not going to be able
Mm-hmm.
to serve the one that needs at the time that needs. So that's why I believe priorities are really, really important, and being able to say, what is number one priority for me, and not
Mm-hmm.
go to number two until you finish number one. Like a time if I'll be sharing a story about how this played out in my life, when I look back at the times that where I was stressed, I was frustrated, I was close to burnout, was when I didn't set clear priorities, and when I set those priorities, I didn't follow the priorities. Because when I put number one on something, well, what happens is that I know, okay, this is the most important today, but let me start with number three because it's easier. So I start with number three,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't do number one. And of course, at the end of the day, if I haven't done number one, then I don't feel that I achieved what I wanted to achieve. So that's why
Oh, yeah. Yep.
one of the biggest challenges we have is first to set priorities, and secondly, to follow and do those priorities in the order that we set for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for
Mm-hmm.
me, that has had a negative impact on myself. I didn't feel that I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I didn't feel that I was effective, and then I was frustrated at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. You have another good point that I also wanted to emphasize here is exactly find out what is really important to you, that at the end of the day, if you solve that one, then you are fulfilled. Then you say that I can accomplish something. That's why I advise people, and also I'm doing this myself. If I have something important I really want to do that day, I start that the day with that activity, like meditation or working out or have a run outside, or these are mainly the most important things. And after that, then I know that if I solve the other issues or not that are related to work, at least at the end of the day I know that I did something for myself. And I also noticed that it actually, I was thinking about my activities and how I prioritize my activities, and I found another point that is very important for people to understand or to take notes. um, when you when we prioritize, we need to pay attention, first of all, of course, of the urgency, if it's urgent or not, of the importance. And also I noticed that is also related to the method of the solving.
Hmm.
how we solve the problem, because there are different kind of activities that we need to deal during a day. There are activities that we know how to handle, we know how to solve, we know how to do. And
Okay.
there's the second category, are some activities that we don't know how to handle, we don't know where to start with,
Hmm.
we don't know how to start with. And that definitely it will take more time of us. We don't know how much time it will take to solve the activity or to do the activity. We don't know what would be the method that we need to implement. We don't know how many people or who do we need to ask for help. And because of that, what I usually do when I have in my day, when I have priorities, when I have activities that I know how to handle, I definitely put them first, solve them, because I know exactly what I need to do, and it's like I compress time because I know exactly what I need to do. And then I leave more time, like a bigger space of few hours, even more, maybe few days, for those activities I don't know how to handle first, at the beginning, at the first glance.
Yeah.
And I let people know, okay, I don't know how to solve this, I need more time than you might expect. And
Yeah.
by the end of the day, I don't spend the whole day on a problem that I don't know how to solve, when I'm exploring things, when I'm discovering things. Because at the end of the day, I know that at least I did some activities that were on my list as priorities. I'm fulfilled, I accomplished something in that day.
Yeah. That's
So
so good. And
what would you say about that? What do you say about that?
no, I think it's a really really good point, because if there is an important activity that we don't know how to solve, that's that's what we're gonna actually, for me at least, it has me put that away, because something that I know how to do, I usually know how to do, so I go there, I do it, and that's it, right? But something that I need
Mhm.
to explore, for example, a new topic that I need to talk about, or maybe a client is asking me for a training in an area where I'm not maybe 100% sure that that's what I need. So I need to do
Mhm.
some
Mhm.
research. I need to go back to some of my materials. That takes a lot of time. So
Yeah.
that is what we call, more for me, creative time. And you cannot put a time on creative time. So I'm going to do this presentation in 2 hours. No, you could have inspiration and do it half an hour, or it could take you like 6 hours. So those are the kind of activities that there is a challenge for us to do them, because we don't really know where to start, and we know they take time. And for me, I usually put those away, because I'm going to do that later. I don't feel inspired right now, and I know it doesn't help me, because I need to start. But you're making such a
Yeah.
good point. If we know how to solve it, it will be much easier for us to prioritize it and also to do it, because we know exactly what needs to be done. But when we don't know what needs to be done, and there is some research involved, that's when it becomes more difficult. And for me, it's this tendency of putting it for later. So you're making such a good point there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm happy that you shared with us. So, what are the methods, Florin, from your experience, that would help anybody, even if they are an inspiring leader, even they are already in a leadership position, to help them prioritize?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And for me, are three methods. So I use three methods. The number one is what we call the Pareto Principle, or the 80-20 principle. And
Okay.
this actually says that there are activities in our life that have a disproportionate effect on the results. So in other words, 20% of the activities we're doing daily will going to bring us 80% of the results, and the rest 80% of remaining activities will going to only bring that 20%. So it says that if I spend 1 hour on a specific topic activity that is important to me, it will bring me 16 times more results compared to if I spend that hour on something which is not one of my top priorities, right? So I think the key here is to identify what those are. What are the top 20% activities, right? For me, it's selling, is marketing, creating content. These are my top three priorities, right? And I know there is no one else right now in my business that could sell, right? So I need to be there. I need to be. Oh, we're here on LinkedIn, right? That's marketing. I'm here, right? So I know that those will bring me the best return on investment. So as a leader, we need to identify what are those activities and spend our time and our resources doing those. It also applies to people. So on our team, we're going to have maybe 20% on average, right? It might be 30, it might be 40, it might be 10, but on average, we have 20% of our people that are the top performers of the team, right? So as a leader, we have to know who are those people and actually to spend the time with the top performers, and then the top performers would spend time with the rest of the team. What happens usually is the person that has
Mm-hmm.
more needs, that is maybe the newest on the team, has more questions, and they come to us more often. And it's very easy as a leader to spend time with the person that is crying more or asking more for help, rather than the person that, if we spend 1 hour with them, we know that we empower them, they're going to take this project and run with it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why this 80-20 principle, whenever I apply it in my life, whenever we apply with clients, helps us a lot. Then there is a couple of more. So one is that the one that John Maxwell shares with us in many of his books is called the 3 R's, right? So he defines 3 categories of activities, right? What is required of us, what gives us the best return, and what gives us the best reward. Like we like doing that activity. And as you said,
Yeah.
some things you cannot delegate, right? So what is required of me are the things that I cannot delegate. So as a leader, for example, setting salary for my team, I cannot delegate that to my team. Having the one-on-one discussions with my team, I cannot delegate that to someone else. So that would be, for example, for me, that would be the setting what is required of you, then looking at what gives you the greatest return. This is again with the 80-20. And then also something that rewards you, because if we only do the things that needs to be done and we don't do the things that will it gives us energy, like you mentioned, meditation and exercise, that those are activities that gives you energy, so you feel rewarded because you do something that you like. And kind of the third rule would be for me to and for us to add margin or white space in our calendars. This is one of the
Ah,
biggest challenge for me, to have 20% at least white space in my calendar. I tend to, as you said, as many others, I tend to just overcommit, like take a lot on my plate, and that
mm-hmm.
if an activity takes longer than planned, then I kind of it mess up my day. So that's something that I'm working on, adding 20% white space in my calendar. Do not plan anything. I actually book those right now, and I put them buffer, buffer time, buffer time, buffer time, because I need those buffers. I know there will be things, in my day that they will not work according to schedule. Maybe, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
computers might crash, something would not work, the internet, whatever, right? So I know
Mm-hmm.
there will be things that will not work exactly as I planned. And also I know that I'm overly optimistic, which means that I sometimes plan less time than I need for some activities, because I'm gonna do that, it's only 15 minutes task. Oh, wow. you know so these three things actually help me a lot. And also there are things that I teach, and my clients apply. So yeah, I think those, if we want to get better at activities, those would be some really good strategies.
Yes, I really, really, I also apply these three methods that you already said. Especially, I found out that it's magic that happens when you have those white space in your calendar,
Yeah,
because then you leave room for something that you cannot see, or something for you to deal from one meeting or from one activity to the other, like take a break to
yeah,
clear your mind. And I really have I would like to share now a story that happened to
sure.
me actually yesterday with the priorities. And I had
Okay.
to deliver a leadership game to a company, to a team, in a team building activity.
Mm-hmm.
And I put myself for almost 2 hours to plan, to make sure that everything is okay. But guess what? Even though I know everything about priorities, even though I know, I wanted to make the most out of it, like value, the value they take out of it. I spent too much time on the 20%, let's say the 20% reward activity. So instead of me thinking and analyzing everything that happened during that day and try to adapt my strategy to what they need, I was actually spending 1 hour, maybe more than 1 hour, just to set up the papers that I want to send them. And guess
Mhm.
what? At the end of the day, I didn't use the paper, so I spent 1 hour for nothing, because I had to adapt the strategy instead of thinking about the strategy and adapting that one before the meeting actually happened. So
Yeah.
it was time wasted, but it's a big important lesson for me. Make sure that you do the thinking first, Madalina, and not
The
not the
doing.
small activities first and the important ones afterwards, because you might not have time to do that.
Yeah. And you, that's such a great story. And I think it also brings to perspective that, what it's important to us might not be important to our clients, or that
Oh,
might not be important to our team. So then now you having the perspective, okay, so I think this is important, but what do they think, right? And what
mm,
you've done, you actually adjusted your priorities based on what they need most and will help them most, rather than what you thought it's important.
yeah, yeah. It's it's very important to think that. And there is one more thing I noticed. This is when I was attending my first time management training. What might seem urgent and important for others, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's urgent and important to you. And after during COVID, I also noticed another lesson that is for me. It will be with me my whole life. Something that it's important and urgent today. Uh, if something happens to you, and because I had COVID right in the middle of, I needed to deliver something urgent for the project, and I said, oh my god, I need to finish this. I cannot finish this on time. I'm stressed. I'm struggling with this. I cannot add more hours to the day. I need to do it during the night. And guess what? COVID hit me. And with this urgency, my health issue, and I had to surrender. I said to my colleagues, look, this happened to me. I know that I have something to finish. I don't know how to solve it. I'm stuck in the problem. And just by that, like, in a day, everything solved out, because another colleague took care of it. They found the solution better than me, because they were outside of the problem, not inside like me. They were not stuck, and I could actually rest to take care of my health at the end of the day. And the lesson learned here is, if I don't struggle, I know that somehow the problem will be solved, and there will be other people to help me to achieve this. And if it's not, we have a joke in Romania, like, um, if you have something to do and you don't do it today and you want to leave it for tomorrow, instead of living for tomorrow, living for the day after tomorrow, because by that time you won't have the problem anymore. Maybe the problem will be solved by itself. So this is
Yeah.
a small joke that helped me in some difficult times,
and
and it
and sometimes
will follow me my whole life.
and sometimes might be very, very true, because it also, as leaders, we need to, another frame that just came to my own eyes is from another mentor of ours, and he shares the 3 Ds, like do, delegate, dump. So you either do it, delegate it, or dump it. So some of the things that you know might seem so important, if you take time to get back to them, they'll say, oh, we solved it, we don't need it anymore. Like you said, it's solved, because if
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
that important, they will probably come back to you the same day 3 times. But if it was somehow important, somewhat important, maybe just got solved, or they realize, oh, we didn't needed that, and so on and so forth. So
yeah.
sometimes knowing what to dump from your to-do list, or what you could delay from the to-do list, it's also important. So yeah, such a great lesson. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. I'm happy to share with you, and I
Uh,
have more other tips. But I know
Absolutely.
that we are at the end of our time frame available now. So next
Absolutely.
time, Florin and I, we will discuss about the last episode on our self leadership series, which is influence. and is, let's say, the bigger picture, is the top pillar of the self leadership discussion, because everything that we discussed so far is are actually the basic foundation for the influence that is on top. So see you
Absolutely.
next time, and thank you, Florin, again for having this conversation with me and people listening to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I look forward for the next episode. All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye, everybody.